Hi guys, today in Crafty Crafts we're going to be making this turtle. So grab some scissors, some sewing kits, needles, whatever you need, some fabric, and let's get started. Alright my darlings, for this project you're going to need a pair of scissors, some needles and thread, two different fabrics. It can be the same type of fabric, but two different ones. You're also going to need a pen or something to write with, and you may want a ruler if you choose to, and some stuffing. But let's get started. Alright guys, once you choose which fabric you want to have for the body and which fabric you want to have for the shell, take the one that you want to have for the shell, and we're going to have 8 of these triangles that are 15 centimeters by 15 centimeters. And then, oops, sorry, I guess I should have had that clipped. The top, you should have a little bit of a round, but it should be about 10 centimeters. So 15, 15, 10, you should have 8 of them. I just drew 2 so I can show you what I'm talking about. If it goes over for whatever reason, make sure this project is washable. So make sure you choose a fabric that's not going to shrink. But I'm honestly just using some leftover fabrics that I found at Hobby Lobby's clearance section for about 25 cents a piece. But so I'm going to get 6 more of this, and then I'm going to cut them out, and then we'll move on. Okay, so the next step is to cut or draw a circle. There's about 3 of this, so 1, 2, and 3. About 3 of them, and it really does not matter if you're cutting and you're drawing or not 100% because it will get sewed together. And the reason why we only want about 3 of this is because they're going to be standing up like this, so the 8 of them will fit on it, but for now the circle is good. So go ahead and cut the circle, and then we'll make some head and feet and legs, or I guess head and feet and hands. Alright my darlings, our next step is to do 8 of this. They're going to be our legs, and we're going to need 8 because 2 of them are going to get sewn on each leg. So 4 legs. So I go 4 centimeters by 6 centimeters and 6 centimeters where the middle should be, and then I draw the dots, and that's how I do it. And they don't need to be perfectly the same. I did that like that on purpose so I can show you. They don't need to be perfectly the same, but similar shapes. That way we can get them sewed up together. So let's do 8, cut them up, and then we'll get our head and perhaps a tail, and we'll move on. Alright darlings, we need 2 pieces for the head to get sewn together. And same thing as before. It's gonna be about 7 centimeters by about 8 centimeters and about 8 centimeters down that way too. And connect the dot on both, and this will get sewn together. So let's cut them up, and then you can put all your fabric away. I actually usually use leftover scraps to make the tail, but I usually do that at the very end. So if you'd like, you can keep some scraps. If not, just cut out a tail from whichever fabric you'd want, and then we'll cut this out and we'll get sewing. Alright my darlings, now that you have all the pieces, if you wanted to take a sewing machine out, you could. I just feel that for a small project it's not worth my time to set my machine up, so I'm going to be sewing this by hand. You do it whichever way you choose, but the first thing we're going to do is sew the head and the feet together, because each one of them should have 2. But we're going to leave the flat part open to stuff and to sew together to the body. But the body would be the last thing that one of the last things that I sew. So first, legs and head. So first I got my first 2 pieces are going to be the head pieces that I'm going to be sewing together. And I'm going to leave this flat part open, that way I can sew it to the body and stuff it, but I'm sewing it by hand, so gonna take a little while longer, but that's okay. Just don't feel that it's worth for me to take my sewing machine out for such a little project. So you can sew it whichever way you want, but if you're using it by hand, I wouldn't go back and forth like that. I would go, I'm not sure if you can see, but I wouldn't go like in and out. I would go in and out on the actual fabric. And I'm not going to worry about any pieces that stick out a little bit like this, because once I'm done sewing, I can always trim them off, so that's not going to be much of a problem. But for right now, I'm just going to sew it together along the lines. Alright, my darlings, so I got a little opening there, and I'm just going to take a little bit of stuffing and start to stuff it, and then I will completely close this up when it's done getting stuffed. And we'll move on to sew the legs. I just think it's kind of repetitive for me to show you how I stuff and sew pieces together. So I'm going to sew them together, and then I will be back after I finish sewing all the legs together. Alright, my darlings, now that we got the little feet as well as the head done, it's time to sew the belly and shell together. Usually when we make things like this, I would say go ahead and put the top pieces together first, but because these are not staying flat, because these are gonna get risen, I feel that it is easier to sew the bottom to the bottom, all of them, all around, and then slowly bring them out and sew them together. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So just to show you what I mean, I got this one anchored down, I got this one halfway anchored down, and right now I'm actually working on sewing them in the middle, right here in the middle, and I'll sew this all the way up to each other, and then I'll connect another one and do the same thing. So that's how I get it on. And before I close them all at the top, I will put some stuffing in there to stuff it. Alright, my darlings, so here it is all together. Now before I sew this part together here, this last part, I'm going to stuff this up, and then I'll sew it, and then I'll show you when it's done, and then I will attach the legs and the head and the feet. Alright, my darlings, there it is. I didn't actually sew the head or the legs on yet. I just kind of wanted to show you how it looks like. But what I'm actually going to do right now is I'm going to give the face a little bit of a mouth, as well as an eye on each side. And I think that I will be using buttons for this. You use whatever you want. If you want to just draw on it, that's fine. Alright, my darlings, there it is. Got a button eye. I just drew the mouth on. And I took a piece of leftover material, scrap material from cutting the other pieces for the tail. But there it all is. I hope you all enjoyed.